Imagine just for a second the world you and I live in right now. I mean, it's this hyper-connected reality, right? We're constantly surrounded by smartphones, satellites, AI. Instant global communication is literally just a tap away. It feels almost impossible to truly escape the grid, but what if I told you there is a completely different reality happening on this exact same planet? Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving deep into the source material surrounding the last uncontacted tribes on Earth. We're going to unpack their incredible story, bust some major myths, and explore the intense, ongoing battle for their survival. It's a totally mind-bending question, isn't it? Are there really still humans completely isolated from the modern world? Like people who have never joined modern society, never picked up a factory-made metal tool, and who actively, and I mean actively, avoid all outsiders. It sounds like something straight out of a movie, right? A classic David versus Goliath survival story. But it's absolutely real, and it totally shatters our biggest assumption, that globalization has somehow touched every single inch of the globe. Okay, let's dive right into this. According to the source material, experts actually estimate there are over 100 isolated tribes still existing out there today. Over 100! The vast majority of these communities are hidden deep, deep within the Amazon rainforest, while others are living out on super remote islands or in these really inaccessible pockets of Southeast Asia. Now, some of these groups might literally just be a few dozen people, while others could number in the hundreds. But either way, their very existence, it is just an incredible testament to human resilience.
Section 1. The Myth of Uncontacted. Redefining Isolation in a Connected World.
You know, the word uncontacted kind of paints this misleading picture in our heads, doesn't it? Like these are people who are just totally ignorant of us or somehow lost in time. But experts define an uncontacted tribe as an indigenous group that has little or no peaceful contact with mainstream society. And honestly, that word peaceful is absolutely crucial here. Because their isolation, it's not some random accident. They aren't hiding because they don't know we're out here. They're hiding because they are making a very deliberate choice.
Because the truth is, these groups are actually very much aware of the outside world. I mean, they've seen the airplanes flying overhead. They've interacted with neighboring indigenous groups who do trade with outsiders. And, tragically, they frequently had violent clashes with illegal loggers, miners, and ranchers encroaching on their land. All of this proves that their decision to hide is really a calculated, deeply necessary strategy to survive intrusions that are, way too often, deadly.
Section 2. Legacy of Survival. The historical trauma of first contact.
So why are they so fiercely determined to stay away from us? Well, history maps out a truly catastrophic chain of events here. Way back during the colonial era, European expansion brought widespread disease and displacement that literally collapsed entire civilizations. Then, you jump to the late 19th and early 20th centuries, and the global rubber boom turns the Amazon into a nightmare of forced labor and mass killings, wiping out entire villages. The survivors? They had to retreat deep into the forest just as a desperate form of protection. And the scary thing is, even today, because they live in such strict isolation, they have absolutely zero immunity to our common illnesses. Literally, a visitor with a mild cold or the flu can trigger an epidemic that could wipe out a massive chunk of their population in just a matter of months.
A really perfect example of this defensive posture is the famous Sentinelese people. They live out on North Sentinel Island in the Andaman Islands, which is legally protected by the Indian government. Now, for decades, they have fiercely defended their 60 square kilometers of territory with arrows and spears against absolutely anyone who tries to get close. And you have to understand, this isn't just random hostility. Researchers believe it's a deeply logical defense mechanism rooted in all that historical trauma we just talked about. The message they're sending us couldn't be clearer. Leave us alone. Section 3. Masters of the Rainforest. The ultimate survivalists. Now, to an outsider looking in, their lifestyle might appear, simple. But the reality is they possess this immense ecological expertise that modern humans have pretty much entirely lost. Think about it. Our modern societies rely entirely on written records, right? We need physical documents, hard drives, the cloud. But isolated tribes, they rely purely on oral history. It is 100% memory-based. The elders pass down these incredibly complex survival skills, stories, and myths directly to the children. We might look at that and think it's fragile, but honestly, this system of relying purely on human memory has successfully preserved their cultures for thousands of years. Now, what's really interesting about this is how they use the forest. It acts as their home, their pharmacy, and their supermarket, all rolled into one. For sustainable food, they plant these ingenious rotational gardens, growing cassava, sweet potatoes, and maize without actually destroying the surrounding ecosystem. For medicine, their traditional healers use plant-based remedies to treat fevers and infections. Fun fact, modern pharmaceutical science is literally still trying to catch up with their botanical knowledge. And for crafted materials, they use wood, palm leaves, and bamboo to build everything from their houses to their bows. They take exactly what they need from the forest and absolutely no more.
And because their cultures are entirely oral, the languages are absolutely vital. There's this quote from researchers that hits so hard. Every lost language is a library burned forever. It's a heartbreaking reality. When an isolated tribe disappears, we aren't just losing words. We are losing irreplaceable vaults of scientific knowledge about the rainforest. We lose alternative worldviews and ancient human histories that we can never, ever get back.
Section 4. The Growing Modern Threats. The Squeeze on the Wilderness.
Okay, let's move along and see how this builds. Because the greatest danger to these isolated peoples today isn't even direct contact anymore. It's a brutal domino effect of environmental destruction. It usually goes like this. Step 1, road construction violently pushes into these remote forests. Step 2, once those roads are in, illegal logging immediately follows, tearing down ancient trees. Step 3, that open access brings in settlers and gold mining operations that pollute the rivers and just consume the land. And finally, step 4, all that human presence introduces disease and displacement that absolutely devastates the isolated communities. So even if they actively avoid contact, our distant economic expansion just inevitably crashes right into their borders.
Section 5. The Right to Isolation. The Global Ethical Debate.
Faced with these massive existential threats, modern governments and anthropologists are really racing against the clock. They're locked in this global ethical debate on how to protect these final frontiers of human diversity. Fortunately, there are some strongholds left. Take the Javari Valley in Brazil, right near the border of Peru and Colombia. It is an enormously massive protected territory. And what's fascinating about Brazil's approach here is the mission of their government teams. They don't go in to make contact or try to integrate the tribes. Actually, it's the exact opposite. They patrol the buffer zones to deliberately prevent contact. They are actively working to keep the modern world out.
And this brilliantly illustrates a massive paradigm shift. I mean, historically, the overarching view was that forced contact and integration were basically forms of progress, which is obviously a very destructive colonial mindset. But look at the modern consensus today. Experts now recognize that true respect actually means honoring self-determination. It means acknowledging their fundamental right to remain isolated and recognizing that these tribes are crucial, irreplaceable guardians of human diversity.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a provocative question to chew on. Who truly has the right to decide the future of these communities? The source material makes an incredibly powerful case that it shouldn't be outsiders, it shouldn't be governments, and it definitely shouldn't be corporations. It should be the indigenous peoples themselves. Their very existence is this amazing reminder that there isn't just one single way to be human, and that not every single corner of human life needs to be connected, explored, or controlled by the modern world.
Sometimes people just deserve the right to simply remain their own. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the last uncontacted tribes. Keep asking questions, keep exploring, and I'll see you on the next explainer.